Night tears through the wilderness like a living thing. Rain lashes the mountain gorge as a grizzly mother claws for balance on slick rock. The river below roars, swollen and merciless, its current dragging branches and broken roots toward oblivion. She leans forward, muzzle lifted, nostrils wide, catching the faintest echo, a cry half swallowed by thunder. Her paw slips, claws scrape stone. She regains footing, chest heaving with raw panic. Lightning flares, revealing emptiness where a cub should be. The forest sways in silence between each rumble, holding its breath with her. Around her, every scent has been washed clean by storm water, every sign erased. Yet she stands motionless, drenched and trembling, sensing a presence far beyond sight, something calling her deeper into the dark. The cry fades again, thinner, farther. She steps forward, against the wind, into a night that will not give answers. Dawn bleeds slowly across a soaked horizon. The storm has retreated, leaving the forest bruised and glistening. The grizzly mother stands knee-deep in cold mud, her fur matted, her breath clouding the pale morning air. Silence stretches between the trees, the kind that feels alive, as if the land itself is listening. She turns her head toward the gorge, where mist rises from the water like memory escaping. A single feather drifts past her muzzle. Somewhere behind the veil of fog, the world smells of loss, a scent both familiar and unbearable. She moves cautiously now, each step a question pressed into the earth. The river murmurs beneath the fog, carrying fragments of branches and echoes of something once living. Her ears twitch, but nothing follows. The storm has erased sound, erased time. Only her heartbeat remains, a slow, rhythmic defiance against the emptiness swallowing the valley. The scent of the river carries through the damp air, mud, decay, and the faint trace of fur. The grizzly mother lowers her muzzle to the ground, inhaling deeply. Beneath the thick layer of silt lies a whisper of her cub's scent, barely holding on. She presses her paw into the wet earth, lifting it to her nose as if memory could cling there. The waterline shifts beside her, current bites at her ankles. Overhead, clouds drift like bruises, softening the light. Her movements are methodical, but beneath each motion lies urgency, a pulse of instinct older than language. Every sound, dripping leaves, shifting gravel, wind scraping bark, is a clue and a threat. She knows the world by smell, by texture, by the faint rhythm of breathing around her. The trail is faint, fragile, fading, but it's enough. She moves forward, following the ghost of a life. Sunlight once poured across this same slope like honey. The cub, small and bright-eyed, tumbled through moss and pine needles, chasing drifting pollen with clumsy joy. The air smelled of milk and sap, of safety. The mother watched from shade, half asleep yet always alert, each movement of her cub etched into instinct. Time felt endless then, unbroken. Now the same hillside lies flattened, crushed under the weight of last night's storm. The moss is torn, the air thick with cold mud. She sniffs where laughter once lived, where fur brushed bark. The echo lingers, faint, ungraspable. Every memory has texture here, the warmth of the cub's body against hers, the rhythmic breathing shared in sleep. But the world has turned. She lifts her head, and the scent of joy is gone, replaced by iron, rain, and silence. The sun hides, ashamed of what remains beneath its light.
Where the cub once rolled in sunlight, only crushed leaves and shallow puddles remain. The earth still bears the faint outline of small paws, half filled with rainwater. The mother presses her nose to them, breathing in what's left, damp soil, fading warmth, the ghost of belonging. Around her the forest breathes differently now, slower, cautious. The wind has lost its music, only distant dripping answers her. The world feels hollowed out, stripped of its rhythm. She raises her head, eyes sweeping the ridge where the cub once climbed. There is no movement, no scent, no sound but the restless hum of insects reclaiming calm. The shift between what was and what is hits like a blow, a sudden fracture in time itself. The forest that once sheltered her has become a stranger, indifferent and vast. She stands in it as if against an ocean, refusing to let it erase memory. The silence grows too heavy to bear. From deep within her grizzly mother releases a sound that shakes the air, low, raw, and endless. It travels through the valley like thunder made of grief. The echo rolls against the mountains, folding into fog, searching for something to answer. But nothing returns. The forest stands motionless, holding its breath. She calls again, shorter this time, more desperate, her voice breaking into fragments. Every instinct tells her to keep moving, to keep calling, to never stop. Yet the sound fades faster now, swallowed by trees that do not care. Her ears twitch, listening for even a heartbeat of response. Only wind moves, carrying the scent of distant rain and nothing else. For a moment, she stands still, just breathing, ribs expanding under soaked fur, a living monument to love unanswered by the world that made it.
Beneath the canopy, tracks twist through the mud, faint impressions, half erased by runoff. The mother lowers her head, tracing the path with a patience born from centuries of survival. The cub's paw prints are smaller, lighter, yet unmistakable. She follows them, step for step, until they vanish at the river's edge. There, the mud churns into confusion, paw marks overlapping, sliding, merging into nothing. She scans the bank, muscles tight, nostrils flaring. The scent is weak, but there, sweetness of youth, fear, rain. She digs into the earth as if to unearth meaning itself. Water splashes across her muzzle. She doesn't blink. The river has taken what it wants. Still, she kneels into the soil, committing every inch of it to memory. Above her, ravens circle, silent for now. She looks once more downstream, eyes narrowing, a hunter of truth inside a grieving heart. The slope beneath her gives way without warning. Gravel slides, rock shifts, and her massive weight thunders down the incline. She catches herself on exposed roots, claws digging deep, muscles trembling. Around her, the forest is treacherous, slick bark, mud pools, collapsing ledges. What once felt like home now feels like a trap. She climbs again, driven by the scent that fades faster with every gust. The storm has carved new channels through the land, erasing familiar paths. Each step cuts her pads, each breath burns against the cold. Yet her eyes remain sharp, scanning every hollow, every tree base. The wilderness tests her, not cruelly, but indifferently. Rain returns, soft and steady, painting her fur with silver lines. She presses on, a living contradiction, strength born of tenderness, determination rooted in loss. The land shifts again, but she does not stop. She never stops. Inside her chest, rhythm replaces reason. The thud of her heart becomes the only compass she trusts. It drives her forward, unthinking, unstoppable. The forest moves around her like a living maze, dripping ferns, shattered branches, fog rising from torn soil. Her ears flick with every whisper. Somewhere ahead, water trickles through stone, a steady pulse mirroring her own. Hunger gnaws but means nothing. Thirst burns but remains ignored. Her world has narrowed to scent,
sound, and heartbeat, all tied to one memory that refuses to die. Each inhale brings both pain and clarity. The forest presses closer, damp and breathing, yet she feels no fear, only momentum. When she pauses, even the silence matches her rhythm, as if nature has synchronized with her grief. Then a distant crack, a branch breaking. She freezes, every sense sharpens. The next moment will decide everything. Night returns like a closing hand. The forest thickens, shadows layered in silence. The grizzly mother stops beneath a towering cedar, senses straining. The air has changed, heavier, scented with musk and danger. Two eyes gleam from the ridge above, steady and unblinking. The rival male. His presence fills the space between breaths, an ancient challenge written in muscle and scent. She lowers her head, not in fear, but calculation. The world narrows to shapes and intention, predator and protector, both born of the same wild law. For a long moment, neither moves. Rain resumes, soft but cold, whispering through leaves like distant memory. Then, the eyes fade back into dark, leaving only the echo of his existence. The mother exhales, a slow growl buried inside it, and turns toward the unseen river below. Somewhere beyond the trees, a faint cry drifts. Or maybe it's only wind.
Morning fog lingers like breath held too long. The grizzly mother lowers her head, drawing slow, deliberate inhalations. Beneath the damp ferns, beneath the washed-out scent of rain, something faint still lingers. Her cub's trace, fragile but undeniable. She moves through undergrowth slick with dew, the world condensed into smell and soil. Each step is careful, measured, reverent. Pine needles cling to her wet fur, droplets roll from her whiskers like tears that never fall. The trail winds toward the valley's edge, vanishing and reappearing in scattered patches. She pauses beside a fallen branch, nostrils flaring, heart quickening. The scent is stronger here, alive with memory, heavy with need. She presses her paw into the ground, as if anchoring herself to certainty. Then, as she exhales, the wind turns. It steals everything, the smell, the direction, the hope. She stands perfectly still, trapped between instinct and vanishing proof. The forest exhales with force, bending saplings and scattering debris. The mother lifts her head, fur rippling against the sudden gust. It cuts across her senses like a blade, shredding every clue she's gathered. The familiar scent dissolves into the cold. She blinks against airborne grit, ears twitching to find something that isn't there anymore. For a moment, the world seems to tilt. The wind mocking her, carrying the whisper of what she seeks farther out of reach. Her breath grows shallow. She circles the same patch of ground twice, then again, unwilling to accept absence. The river below hisses with restless motion, branches clap above her like closing wings. She sits back on her haunches, motionless but alive with frustration. The air still tastes of her cub, faint, diluted, taunting. Then, quiet. Only her breathing remains, and the slow, rhythmic drip of water from leaf to leaf.
The mother pushes onward, unaware she's following the scent of herself. The mud beneath her paws is churned by her own steps, layered over and over from the night before. She sniffs deeply, convinced the fading trail belongs to her cub, not realizing the loop has closed around her. The terrain twists her path, pulling her back toward where she began. Overhead, ravens trace circles in the pale sky, quiet, distant witnesses. The forest hums low, steady, indifferent. She presses forward faster now, driven by instinct over logic, her breath ragged. Every few yards she stops, nose buried in mud, reading old signs written by her own desperation. The illusion holds long enough to sustain motion, to keep hope breathing.
Then she finds a paw mark larger than the cub's, older than the storm. Her own. The realization doesn't reach thought. She only growls softly and keeps searching. The scent of moss triggers something deeper than recognition. A flash, the cub's tiny muzzle nudging her flank, the sound of wet snuffling, warmth pressed against her belly. The forest fades into that golden recollection. She can almost feel the cub's heartbeat pulsing beneath fur, a rhythm she once matched in sleep. The memory swells and contracts, overlapping with the present. In the real forest, mist creeps through ferns like smoke. She blinks and it vanishes. A single patch of sunlight pierces the canopy, landing on a torn leaf that glows for a moment like the cub's fur once did. She stares, frozen between two worlds, one alive and one already gone. The warmth fades, the color drains. She exhales sharply, disoriented. Her claws dig into soil, grounding her back in what remains, scentless earth, damp air, the steady hum of emptiness echoing where memory refuses to die. Across the valley, a sound rises, faint, high-pitched, trembling. Her head snaps up instantly. It pierces through the hush of drizzle, echoing against the rocks. It could be anything, a cub's cry, a trick of wind, or the forest breathing in a new direction. She doesn't think, she just moves. Mud splashes against her chest as she charges through undergrowth, branches tearing fur. The sound grows louder, closer, unmistakable in rhythm and tone. The same cadence she's known since birth of her own child. She stumbles once, recovers, and sprints again, eyes wild with fragile hope. The terrain narrows into a ravine, sound bouncing between stone walls. Her heart hammers to its tempo. The cry sharpens, fills the space, becomes everything. She barrels forward, unstoppable. Then, silence. The echo ends too suddenly. Only her breathing remains, deep and uneven. The world holds its breath beside her. The grizzly freezes mid-stride. Every muscle in her body quivers, tuned to silence. Her nostrils flare, pulling air in like current through stone. The forest feels suspended, waiting. Then she moves again, low, deliberate, silent. Her shoulders ripple beneath wet fur, power contained within control. She circles the sound's origin, testing the air, reading invisible lines of scent and vibration. A faint odor cuts through the rain, carrion, metallic, layered with deception. She advances, head lowered, breath slow. The terrain grows darker, ground uneven with bones and roots. Something shifts ahead, a glint of black among the gray. The smell sharpens, alive with false promise. Every part of her reads it wrong, and still she goes forward, driven by something older than reason. The sound repeats once, closer now, more convincing. She lunges toward it, crashing through the last line of brush into open ground. A raven bursts upward from the carcass, wings slick with rain, voice slicing through air. Its call mimics the cub's cry perfectly, then fractures into mocking laughter. The mother halts, claws sinking into mud, chest heaving. The carcass below her is that of a deer, cold, half-consumed, crawling with insects. The raven circles once, shrieking its hollow song, then lands again to feed. She stares at it, not with anger, but something heavier. Confusion, grief given shape. The trick cuts deep, the illusion shatters completely. Around her, the storm gathers again, wind twisting through her fur, stealing what's left of warmth. She lowers her head beside the dead thing, breath shaking. The raven hops backward, unafraid. Their eyes meet for a heartbeat, predator and scavenger, both surviving on loss. Then it takes flight, vanishing into mist, leaving her alone with the truth the forest always knew. The sound she makes is not a roar, it's something rawer, a broken sound that belongs to no creature but grief itself. She strikes at the ground, tearing roots and soil apart. Mud splatters across her face, blood beads along her claws. Rain falls harder, flattening her strength, washing her rage into the earth. She paces in widening circles, unable to stop moving, unable to release what burns inside. The raven's echo still rings above, each note a reminder of her helplessness. She lifts her head, roaring at the sky, voice lost in storm. Lightning answers, briefly illuminating her outline, a figure carved from loss. The forest doesn't respond, it never does. Finally, she collapses to her knees, chest heaving, breath coming in gasps that steam against the cold. For a long moment, she just listens, waiting for anything, any sound that might give her reason to rise again.
The forest becomes liquid. Every leaf, every stone, every sound is drenched in motion. Rain pours in relentless sheets, blurring the world into a silver haze. The mother trudges through it, body heavy, senses dulled by exhaustion. Each droplet drums against her fur, merging with her heartbeat until rhythm and weather become the same. The scent of the cub is gone now. No trace, no illusion, nothing left to chase. Still she moves. Her body remembers purpose even when her mind falters. She finds shelter beneath a slanted rock face, panting, soaked to the skin. The ground beneath her trickles with runoff, forming small rivers that mimic larger ones beyond. The sky remains low and colorless. She tilts her head upward, letting rain strike her eyes until she can't tell what's water and what's sorrow. The forest has gone quiet again, as if the storm itself is tired of noise. Her breath hangs in the cold air, thick and rhythmic. Droplets slide down her muzzle, tracing slow lines toward the ground. Her eyes, wide, unblinking, reflect the faint light leaking through the canopy. The forest around her is muted, reduced to simple forms, gray, brown, movement, stillness. She listens for anything, every nerve stretched thin. Somewhere in the distance, thunder murmurs like a buried heart. Her fur ripples with each tremor. She shifts slightly, her enormous frame trembling not from fear, but from the weight of effort, the sheer endurance of continuing. The rain slows. Mist curls upward like breath leaving the earth. Her gaze steadies on nothing in particular, as if the world has folded inward, leaving her alone at its center. In that stillness, she inhales deeply, a breath that tastes of earth, storm, and something nearly gone. She exhales, and the scene fades to gray.
The gorge yawns before her, carved by centuries of ice and water. The river below seethes, swollen from storms, churning with debris. She studies the crossing, eyes narrowing, muscles tense beneath rain-dark fur. The scent she follows lies faintly on the opposite bank, a fragile thread that refuses to die. She steps forward, claws scraping stone, testing the edge. The current throws mist upward, cold as fear. One paw slides, catches, steadies. She descends slowly, every motion deliberate, primal.
Pebbles cascade behind her like falling bones. The roar of the river drowns out thought, leaving only instinct. She wades in. Water rises over her chest, pulling, twisting, demanding surrender. But her body is built for defiance. She pushes through, lunging toward slick rocks that promise ground. When she emerges, soaked and trembling, the forest greets her with silence, as if holding judgment on whether she should have survived. For a heartbeat, she is back in spring. The gorge was gentler then, its banks green and alive. The cub had followed her cautiously across shallow water, paws splashing, eyes wide with wonder. She remembers turning to watch him struggle against the current, nudging him upward with her muzzle, his small cry sharp but fearless. The memory glows, brief and impossible. Now, the same river snarls at her heels, mocking that gentler time. She shakes water from her fur, watching sunlight pierce the clouds for a fleeting moment, the same color as the cub's eyes once were. The vision holds until a gust of wind scatters it into mist. Her breath hardens. She blinks, erasing tenderness, reclaiming focus. The world has shifted from teaching to surviving, from nurture to pursuit. She moves forward, heavy and unrelenting, carrying the weight of seasons collapsed into a single heartbeat of loss.
A sudden crack shatters the stillness, a dead limb snapping free high above. She jerks her head upward, muscles locking. The branch crashes beside her, spraying mud, thundering like a warning. Her body reacts before thought. Hind legs braced, claws dug deep, eyes scanning shadows. Nothing moves but the slow drift of leaves settling back to ground. Her pulse thunders in her ears. For a moment, she waits for attack. Predator, rival, anything. But the forest gives only its silence. She exhales slowly, lowering her head again, heartbeat steadying. Instinct has no rest, no permission for fear. She presses forward, senses sharpened anew. Each sound now carries weight, each shadow its own possibility. The branch lies broken behind her, its raw core gleaming pale in the gloom. Even the forest sheds pieces of itself to survive. She does the same, leaving caution where it fell. The smell hits her before sight, thick, musky, dominant. It saturates the air, layered with damp bark and rot. Her head lifts sharply, the fur along her spine bristles. This scent belongs to power and danger, to a male large enough to take what remains of her world. She turns slowly, tasting the air, pinpointing distance. The trail is fresh, barely an hour old. He's close. Her breathing changes, slower but deeper, drawing in every molecule of warning. The forest tightens around her, branches closing like ribs of a cage. She backs into shadow, ears rotating, every muscle coiled for fight or flight. The scent grows stronger, heavier with each gust. She knows this law. Males destroy cubs to breed again. Her cub's scent on her fur is invitation and threat alike. She lowers herself into the mud, unmoving, until wind shifts and the danger passes unseen.
She emerges from stillness, torn between two ancient urges to search and to survive. The storm has sharpened the world to its rawest form: hunger, fear, drive. Each step forward risks confrontation. Each pause risks forgetting the scent trail entirely. Her body chooses movement. She climbs a ridge thick with slick roots, every motion silent but purposeful. The wind carries mixed messages: male musk, cub's fading trace, the neutral perfume of rain. Her senses overlap, battling for priority. The valley below stretches endless, indifferent. She knows she must feed, rest, conserve, but something deeper defies logic. The need to find, to reclaim, burns brighter than hunger. The dual rhythm of her breath mirrors that inner divide. Inhale survival, exhale devotion. She presses onward, following both instincts until they blur into one. Above her, thunder rolls again, like two hearts beating in opposition within the same chest. The river offers movement beneath its skin, flashes of silver darting through murky current. She waits, motionless, the picture of patience honed by generations. Then, a strike. Her claws slice water, catching a salmon mid-leap. The fish thrashes, glinting like a shard of light in her jaws. She drags it onto the rocks, holding it firm as its struggle slows. Steam rises from her wet fur, rain mingles with blood. She eats not from desire, but necessity. The meat is warmth, strength, the simple mechanics of survival. Between bites, her eyes never leave the tree line. Each sound beyond the river feels heavier now. The act of feeding becomes both ritual and burden, a pause forced upon momentum. When nothing remains but bone, she nudges it into the current, watching it vanish downstream. Her reflection trembles on the water's surface, half shadow, half resolve.
Clouds fracture above her, opening slivers of pale light that spill across the valley. For the first time in days, color returns, muted greens, silvers, and the faint gold of morning. She stands still, letting warmth touch her shoulders. Steam lifts from her fur in ghostly wisps. The forest exhales quietly, uncertain of peace. In this fragile brightness, she almost looks whole again, her outline soft against the mist. The air smells different, calmer, balanced, and for a brief heartbeat she feels the rhythm of the world returning. Then a breeze stirs the leaves, carrying a new scent, faint, familiar, gone before she can identify it. The moment collapses, the light dims again. She blinks, grounding herself back in motion. Beauty has no hold here. It visits and withdraws like mercy. She lowers her head, eyes steady, and steps into the next patch of shadow. She pauses beside a towering pine, its bark darkened by rain. With deliberate motion, she rubs her flank against it, leaving her scent thick along the trunk. It's both signal and prayer, a message cast into the wild. The cub would recognize it, so might a predator. She doesn't care which finds it first. Her scent is identity, proof that she's still here, still searching. The act steadies her, ritual turned survival code. Sap clings to her fur, sharp and clean. Around her, the forest seems to hold still, listening. For a brief second, she becomes part of its architecture, another living mark in its endless record. Then wind stirs again, carrying traces of that same musk she's tried to escape. She inhales once, deeply, acknowledging the cycle. Every message in nature is both invitation and warning. She moves on, leaving meaning behind in the rain. Darkness folds back across the ridges, sliding through branches like smoke. The temperature drops fast, her breath becomes visible again. She climbs to higher ground, each step slow but deliberate, finding her rhythm in exhaustion. The forest hums faintly, water, insects, wind all blending into one living drone. Steam rises from her back where rain still clings to heat. Her eyes catch faint movement across the valley, maybe shadow, maybe memory. She doesn't chase. She has learned to save her strength for what matters. The world narrows to pulse and sound, to the damp scent of earth closing around her. Above, stars flicker through torn clouds, indifferent witnesses. She settles against a boulder, letting stillness settle through her bones. Sleep doesn't come, vigilance does. Somewhere nearby, the raven perches unseen, feathers slick, waiting for dawn to expose what night hides too kindly. At first, only the faint rustle of wings cuts through the quiet. Then a low croak, hoarse, deliberate, almost human. The raven lands on a broken branch a few yards away, black against gray, eyes like polished stones. It studies her without fear. She watches back, unmoving, breath shallow. The bird hops once, twice,
shaking rain from its feathers. The silence between them feels ancient, ritualistic. It calls again, softer this time, and the sound threads through the air like a forgotten lullaby. She tilts her head slightly, recognizing the pattern, but not the meaning. The raven remains, sentinel or witness, it's impossible to tell. The world contracts around that fragile connection, two survivors bound by loss and hunger. Then, as dawn hints at the horizon, the raven spreads its wings and lifts away, vanishing into the mist that never stops returning.
Morning arrives without color. The forest breathes in layers of pale mist, every trunk and stone dissolving into gray. The grizzly mother moves slowly, her shape half hidden, more shadow than substance. Each breath she takes fogs before her muzzle, merging with the vapor curling off the ground. The earth feels softer here, sponge-like beneath her weight. Birds remain silent, as if sound itself fears to break the stillness. She pauses beside a small pool, watching ripples spread from her reflection. A distorted image, one eye bright, the other dim under shadow. Around her, the air carries no scent of danger, but neither does it carry hope. The silence is not peace, it is absence. She lifts her head toward unseen slopes where the cub once followed her steps. The fog thickens, swallowing everything, her outline, her scent, her memory, until even her movement seems borrowed from dream. From deep inside the fog, a cry threads through the trees. High-pitched, sharp, unmistakable. The mother freezes, every muscle alert. Her ears tilt forward, her body turns toward the sound. It repeats, softer, distant. Then again, closer. The pitch trembles with a rhythm she knows too well. She moves instantly, urgency erasing exhaustion. Mud flies behind her, branches whip against her shoulders. The cry leads her uphill, weaving through wet ferns and fallen logs. Each time it fades, another replaces it, drawing her deeper into the mist's heart. Her heart hammers in sync with the sound. For the first time in days, there is direction, purpose restored. The forest seems to clear before her, opening paths that weren't there moments ago. She charges onward, faster, driven by love's hallucination. When the sound stops, it leaves behind silence so vast, it feels alive. She breaks into a run that defies her size. Every stride tears through undergrowth, scattering leaves and water alike. Her breathing roars against the hush of the fog, each exhale a gust of fire in the cold. The trail narrows, hemmed by dense trunks and slick moss. Claws slice the soil, gripping, propelling. The forest rushes by in fractured glimpses. Roots, rock, river light. The cry resurfaces again, now muffled, distorted by distance and echo. She follows without hesitation, eyes wide, nostrils flaring with the hunger of recognition. Rainwater from branches above cascades down, mixing with sweat and storm debris on her coat. Her momentum is all instinct, pursuit without thought, movement without pause. She bursts through a curtain of ferns, chest heaving, and the sound stops mid-note. Only wind moves, brushing against her ears. The emptiness it leaves is heavier than exhaustion, heavier even than hunger. The forest closes around her like a trap. The sound has led her to a hollow, a small clearing littered with feathers, bones, and wet leaves. No tracks, no scent, no sign of life. The ground dips toward a fallen tree, its trunk hollowed by decay. She peers inside, breath fogging against darkness. Nothing stirs. The air smells of age and damp wood, not of the living. She circles the clearing once, twice, unwilling to accept stillness as answer.
The raven's feathers scatter across the mud, slick and black, remnants of something that came before. She nudges one gently, watching it twist in the rain, catching dim light before sinking into muck. The forest gives her nothing. No sound, no proof, no closure. Her chest rises and falls with frustrated rhythm, the pulse of survival colliding with grief. The silence feels personal, as if the world itself has lied.
She begins to move in circles, slow at first, then faster, nose pressed low to ground. Each direction feels wrong, scent too faint, too mixed, too gone. She huffs sharply, frustration building. The fog has weight now, pushing down on her, crowding her senses. Every shape looks like what she seeks until she blinks and it dissolves. The mind plays tricks when hope becomes survival. Her breathing quickens, her claws tear shallow grooves in the soil. The memory of the cry still echoes in her head, ghosting over the wind, cruelly precise. She stops suddenly, lifts her head high, ears twitching. Nothing. Even the raven's call has vanished. The quiet is so thick it hums. She lowers herself to the earth, pressing her snout into wet moss, grounding herself. For the first time, the thought of failure brushes close. Not death, but the slow erasure of purpose. Her face glistens under weak daylight, droplets clinging to each strand of fur. Her nostrils flare, her eyes, dark amber, scan the air for answers. The camera of nature moves closer, the details intimate, unguarded. Scars line the bridge of her nose, faint traces of past battles, reminders that survival leaves its own handwriting. Her breathing is heavy but steady, shoulders lifting and falling in rhythm with unseen thunder. Every tremor in her body holds meaning, exhaustion, loss, perseverance. Around her, sound narrows. No birds, no insects, just the pulse beneath her skin. The forest seems to retreat, giving her space for a single unspoken truth. She is utterly alone. Her head lowers slowly, eyes closing for the briefest moment. In that silence, love and instinct become the same thing. When her eyes open again, something inside has hardened. The search no longer asks permission.
In the hush that follows, her mind offers mercy, a vision of water under sunlight, her cub standing unsteadily on a rock, swatting at minnows. The air was warm then, her fur shimmered gold. The cub's squeal of triumph was so pure it startled even the birds. She had watched him with something close to pride, an emotion not often afforded to the wild. The memory unfurls like warmth spreading through cold veins. It's vivid enough to taste, the scent of wet stone, the metallic tang of river air, the hum of life untouched by loss. The present, though, waits at the edge of that illusion, patient and merciless. The image begins to tremble, color draining into gray. She reaches forward instinctively, as if she could pull the memory back into reality. But it collapses in silence, leaving behind only the reflection of movement in dark, restless water. She stares into the stream before her, its surface trembling with ripples that mimic her cub's tiny splashes. For a heartbeat, illusion and reality merge. She steps closer, muzzle near the water, eyes searching depths that hold no answers. The pattern repeats. A small disturbance, perfectly timed, perfectly cruel. Her heart races, expecting a shadow to rise, a movement to confirm what hope insists. But the ripple fades, replaced by the slow drift of leaves. The world has learned to imitate her grief, turning it into its own rhythm. She exhales, the sound rough, nearly a growl. Each wave that follows carries a memory away. The world reflects her, powerful, broken, endless. She turns from the stream, leaving footprints that fill instantly with water, erasing her path before it exists. The wilderness knows no past. It only repeats, again and again, until even sorrow becomes instinct.
From above, the forest stretches like an endless lung, breathing mist, exhaling silence. The Grizzly Mother's form is a single moving shadow threading through its vastness. High on the ridge, another shape stirs, larger, slower, deliberate. The rival male bear steps from behind a fallen pine, his silhouette cutting against the dim horizon. His presence shifts the air. Every creature nearby vanishes into quiet. He moves with the certainty of dominance, unaware or uncaring of her grief. Below, she pauses, head lifting, nostrils twitching. Their worlds overlap for a moment. Predator, protector, two forces bound by the same indifferent law. The camera of nature widens further. Storm clouds mass again at the mountain edge, wind coiling through the trees. She resumes her slow climb upward, unknowing of the eyes above. The valley below contracts, heavy with breath held between confrontation and fate's design. At the crest of the ridge, she senses him before she sees him. The scent of musk, the sound of shifting weight on wet ground, primal signals vibrating through air. She stops, shoulders squared, breath shallow but unwavering. Across a stretch of open ground, the male stands massive, scarred, his coat rippling in the cold wind. Their eyes lock, two instincts colliding in silence. Neither roars, neither retreats. The space between them becomes sacred, a field where life and loss weigh the same. He steps forward once, testing, reading. She holds her ground. The storm swells, wind whipping through branches, thunder crouching low. Her claws dig into the earth, claiming it as her own. For a heartbeat, she looks like a statue carved from will itself, soaked, scarred, unbroken. Then, as lightning tears the sky in half, both figures blur into shadow, swallowed by the rising night.
The clash on the ridge dissolves into silence. The male bear fades into fog, leaving the mother trembling yet steady. Her breath cuts through the cold in heavy bursts as she retreats through thick brush, muscles burning. Branches rake her sides. Wet ferns close behind her like curtains. She moves downhill, guided more by instinct than vision, choosing cover, moving between shadows. Each step is deliberate, conserving what little strength remains. The forest here is denser, its sounds muffled, its air heavy with rot and moss. Her claws dig into soaked earth, pulling her weight across slick roots. The confrontation has drained her, but also cleared her focus. Behind her, thunder fades into distance. Ahead, a dim glow marks where the land folds into valley. She presses forward into the dark. The wilderness exhales again, not welcoming, not hostile, merely continuing, as if unaware she ever passed through. The rain thins, hesitates, then transforms into slow, drifting flakes. The first snow of the season lands silently upon her back, clinging to fur still wet with rain. The air sharpens, carrying that metallic stillness that comes just before deep cold. She pauses, breath visible, head tilted upward. Each flake melts against her warmth, vanishing instantly, leaving small circles of steam. The forest around her changes tone, softer, muted, reverent. Sound collapses, even the river seems to hush beneath a skin of ice. She moves slower now, steps heavier, eyes half closed against the sting of wind. The scent of the cub has long vanished, replaced by nothingness. Still she searches, not for hope anymore, but for meaning in motion. Snow gathers along her muzzle, white against brown, aging her in moments. Above, the raven glides silently, tracing her path through an endless field of falling white.
Hunger announces itself as tremor. Her limbs stiffen, her stride shortens. The reserves of fat she carried from summer have burned away under grief and weather. Each breath emerges in slow, wheezing clouds that vanish before her eyes. The cold no longer bites, it seeps, a quiet invasion through skin and bone. She stops at a tree stump, lowering herself for a moment's rest. The ground is hard, unforgiving. Beneath her, frozen roots hum faintly with the vibration of wind moving through soil. Her stomach growls, a low sound that echoes oddly in the still air. She ignores it. The body can fail, but the will cannot. She stands again, trembling slightly, forcing motion back into stiff legs. The trail ahead glows faintly with reflected moonlight on snow. The night feels thinner here, fragile. Every exhale leaves her smaller. Every inhale an act of defiance against the inevitable slowing. Among tangled roots of a fallen cedar, darkness offers refuge. The hollow beneath its trunk yawns like an open wound in the earth. She approaches cautiously, lowering her head to test the air. No scent of predator, no memory of danger. The interior smells of damp wood and old decay. It will do. She crawls inside, massive body folding into the space, fur brushing the walls. The cold recedes slightly, replaced by the earthy breath of the forest floor. Her sides rise and fall in a rhythm half between sleep and vigilance. Outside, wind combs through branches, whispering through gaps like distant voices. She closes her eyes for the first time in days, though rest refuses to settle fully. The hollow feels temporary, a pause rather than peace. Still, it shelters her heartbeat from the night's hunger. Inside this narrow world, time slows to the pace of survival.
The world outside continues without her. Snow falls quietly, building soft walls of silence around the hollow. Inside, she breathes slow and shallow, her body curling tighter for warmth. The air tastes of wood dust, wet soil, and her own exhaustion. Drops of meltwater slide from the roof above, striking her shoulder like the measured ticking of a clock she cannot see. Shadows shift as the storm passes overhead, their faint movement tracing across her back. For a moment, she feels safe, not in victory, but surrender. The darkness hides her, holds her, almost forgives her. Somewhere beyond the walls, the raven calls once, a faint echo that barely reaches her ears. She doesn't move. Her mind drifts in and out of something close to dreaming, where sound becomes memory, and memory becomes warmth. In this space between waking and rest, even loss begins to lose its edges. The dream arrives softly, as if the air itself conjures it. She stands in sunlight again, the river gentle, the cub alive and bright, splashing in shallow water. His fur glistens gold, his small cry full of joy. She watches, motionless, her heart steady for the first time in what feels like years. The forest hums with color, insects dancing in slow spirals of light. The air smells of sweetness, berries, sap, milk. She steps forward, almost weightless, to join him. Their reflections shimmer together in water so clear it feels sacred. Then a ripple distorts the surface. The cub turns, begins to fade, outline dissolving into current. She reaches out, but her paw passes through air. The river darkens, sound retreating into silence. The dream collapses inward. She jerks awake, breath ragged, clawing at the earth. The den's walls reappear, cold, narrow, real. The light is gone.
The waking world reclaims her violently. A gust of wind slams against the hollow's entrance, flinging in snow and noise. Among it rides a sound, faint, familiar, wrong. A cry, distant but piercing, threads through the gale. Her head lifts instantly, eyes wide, heart hammering. The dream still clings to her, the sound feels like its echo. She rises too quickly, striking her shoulder against the ceiling. Snow filters in, dusting her muzzle. The sound repeats, sharper this time, nearer. Instinct overrides reason. She claws at the edge of the entrance, widening it, dragging herself into the storm. The world outside blazes white, no shape or scent discernible. The call continues once more, before vanishing entirely. She stands exposed in blinding snow, panting, scanning emptiness. The silence that follows feels cruel, calculated. Wind howls through trees like laughter too distant to name. Hope, once again, betrays her heartbeat. Her body trembles uncontrollably now, not from cold alone, but from the jolt of awakening into futility. The storm rages, filling every crevice of the valley with white noise. She turns slowly, scanning the emptiness where the sound had been. Snow covers her tracks as fast as she makes them. The world rebuilds itself around her grief, layer by layer. She moves blindly, each step erasing the last. The air bites deep into her lungs, clean and merciless. Her breath crystallizes mid-air before vanishing. She searches without direction, driven purely by movement, a living rhythm against stillness. Above her, branches bow under weight, snow cascading in small avalanches. Her fur gathers frost, her limbs stiffen, yet she persists. There's no fear left, only momentum. The forest blurs into abstraction, white, black, motion, silence. Her heart beats unevenly, like thunder fading away into an echo that refuses to end.
She halts, sensing something in the air, subtle, deliberate. From above, a small shape drifts downward through the snow, a single feather, dark and glossy, twisting lazily until it lands near her paw. She stares at it, unblinking, as if it carries meaning beyond chance. The raven's presence lingers unseen, its shadow absorbed into the storm's pale chaos. She lowers her head, touches the feather gently with her nose. It smells of distance, of things that survive by watching. The moment lasts only a few breaths before wind claims it again, sweeping it away into the white. Still, it has changed something. A quiet spark inside her reignites, faint but real. She turns toward the direction the feather fell from, muscles tightening, breath steadying. The wilderness offers no comfort, yet it grants permission to continue. She moves again, slower, deliberate, guided not by hope, but endurance itself. The storm weakens, surrendering its fury to exhaustion. She climbs toward higher ground, each step deliberate, dragging through deep snow. Her fur glows dull silver under the fading light. The air is sharp, stripped clean of scent or sound. Above, clouds drift apart, revealing thin strands of pale sky.
She stops for a moment, chest heaving, gaze fixed on the valley stretched below, the place of search, of loss, of becoming. There's no sign of life, no echo of the cub, no promise left unbroken. Yet something steadier replaces the hunger for answers. Purpose reshapes itself, not finding, but enduring. She lowers her head, exhaling steam that curls upward like prayer. The forest stands timeless, its breath matching hers. When she moves again, the motion is different, measured, certain, final. Her journey has turned inward now, a vow carried not in hope, but in the discipline of love.
The storm breaks overnight, leaving a hush that feels almost sacred. The air hangs motionless, fragile as glass. Frost glitters along branches. Every twig bears the weight of silence. The grizzly mother stands alone on a ridge washed clean by wind. Beneath her, the valley lies reborn. Rivers smooth as steel, trees bowed under white. She breathes deeply, drawing in air that smells of nothing but cold. Her fur steams faintly where sun touches it, a ghost lifting from her body. For the first time in endless days, no echo calls her forward, no scent drags her back. The wilderness has paused with her, waiting to see if she will move. She lowers her head, testing the ground as if it might refuse her. It doesn't. The land accepts her weight quietly. Her heart beats once, steady and unhurried. The chase has ended. What remains is the act of continuing. She begins to climb, claws gripping frozen earth, breath rising in measured rhythm. The ascent is steady, not urgent. Each motion feels deliberate, ceremonial. Snow slides from rocks beneath her, scattering into glittering dust. The slope she once descended in panic now greets her with calm inevitability. Above, the light grows stronger, a pale gold spilling through torn clouds. Her muscles tremble, but obey, fueled by something quieter than instinct. The forest opens as she climbs, branches thinning to reveal distance. Behind her, her tracks form a single winding line, cutting across untouched snow. The higher she climbs, the smaller the valley becomes, until grief itself seems reduced to shape and texture, part of the landscape. Wind presses against her face, not hostile, but firm, as if reminding her she still belongs. She keeps going, eyes fixed on the ridge ahead, where memory and horizon finally meet.
At the ridge's crest, she finds the hollow, the den once shared with her cub. Snow has sealed its entrance halfway, the opening crusted with ice. She approaches slowly, nostrils widening as faint scents return. Pine resin, old fur, the trace of warmth long gone. She pushes her muzzle through the drift, breaking the thin crust, breathing in memory. Inside, the air is stale, still, unchanged. The walls bear tiny scratches, lines made by curious paws. She stands there for a long while, head bowed, the weight of months collapsing into seconds. No cry, no echo, only the hollow's patient silence. Her body fills the doorway, blocking light, casting shadow over the space that once held promise. She doesn't enter. Instead, she lowers herself outside, pressing chest to snow. Her breath warms the frozen edge, melting small circles that glisten like tears against the untouched white. Time holds still. The forest, the wind, even the clouds seem unwilling to move. The camera of existence lingers on details. the curve of her back rising and falling with breath, the steam curling from her nostrils, the faint tremor of muscle beneath fur. Near her paws, old paw prints remain, one large, one small, preserved by cold and chance. They lie side by side, perfectly aligned, frozen into permanence. She studies them without expression, as if realizing memory can sometimes outlive the living. The light shifts slightly, sliding across her fur, painting it in silver and ash. Snow drifts lazily through the air, gathering around the prints until they blur, then vanish. She watches them disappear without moving. In that quiet erasure lies acceptance. Not forgiveness, not peace, but understanding. The world takes back what it lent, and she allows it, breathing as the sky exhales above her.
The wind softens until only her breathing fills the air. Each inhale grows shallower, measured, almost meditative. She lowers herself completely now, body curving into the snow's embrace. The ground beneath her still holds the memory of warmth from sunlight earlier that morning. Her eyes half close, reflecting dim streaks of gold across a horizon fading to gray. Around her, the forest sways gently, branches creaking like old voices, remembering words they no longer speak. Her heartbeat slows, steady and deep, merging with the rhythm of the earth beneath. Time loses its edges, everything becomes pulse and silence. A raven crosses above, its shadow gliding across her fur, quick as a thought. She doesn't lift her head. The act of stillness has become its own language. Each breath that leaves her seems lighter than the last, dissolving into the same cold air that once carried her child's cry. From high above, the crow circles in widening loops, wings catching light that flickers between shadow and dawn. Its call drifts downward, one note, then another, spaced like punctuation in the silence below. The sound is neither cruel nor kind, it simply is, existing where words never could. The mother's ears twitch faintly, acknowledging without reaction. The crow banks once more, its feathers glossy against the pale sky. Beneath it, she lies still, breath weaving faint clouds that fade as quickly as they appear. For a heartbeat, bird and bear share the same rhythm: rise, fall, glide, rest. The crow releases a final cry, softer this time, almost reverent, and disappears into distance. Its echo lingers briefly, wrapping the ridge in invisible thread. The wilderness absorbs it fully, leaving only quiet again. That quiet no longer feels empty, it feels earned. The sound after a story ends.
The first breeze stirs again, gentle but insistent. It threads through the trees, rustling frost from needles, lifting powdery snow into the air. The motion creates small spirals, ghost-like forms that dance across the clearing. The mother's fur ripples under the touch, and for a moment, her scent releases into the current, faint traces of musk, earth, and memory. The wind carries it outward, over ridges, across frozen water, through pine and stone. It is not a message meant for anyone, yet the world receives it. Animals miles away will catch fragments, read it in their own ancient way. The forest exhales her existence into itself, folding her story into its endless cycle. She remains motionless, eyes closed, as if trusting the elements to remember. The breeze strengthens, then softens, as though bowing before her stillness. Above, light gathers in the sky's pale throat, preparing for dawn. The world expands again, revealing the vast geometry of wilderness. Valleys stretch in layered blues, rivers thread like veins of glass. The Grizzly Mother lies small within it, a single shape at the heart of something infinite. From this distance, motion is almost imperceptible, a slow rise and fall, life measured in quiet breaths. Clouds drift lazily above, their undersides catching hints of gold. Far off, a waterfall murmurs beneath frozen ledges, its sound softened by distance. The forest hums low, resonant, ancient. The crow becomes a speck against the brightening sky. The camera lingers, widening still, until she is nearly lost within the immensity. One note in the larger chord of existence. The storm scars, the tracks, the river, all dissolve into pattern. In that view, loss transforms into design. Nothing is missing. Everything has merely changed shape, continuing beyond the reach of names.
In the wild, love does not end, it alters. It becomes the rhythm of rivers, the patience of stone, the hunger that drives life forward. The mother's search was never about recovery, it was remembrance through motion, devotion written in distance. Every scar upon her body has become a line of translation between what lives and what lingers. The forest keeps her secret without ceremony. Wind will tell her story in scent, water in echo, snow in silence. Somewhere beneath the roots of pines, her cub's essence has already joined the cycle, unseen yet eternal. The wilderness knows no tragedy, only continuation. Above, light spreads wider, turning frost to shimmer. Her stillness is not defeat, it is absorption, the final surrender that grants immortality in another form. The earth accepts her into its breath, and for the first time, the valley feels whole again. Dawn arrives quietly, painting the world in pale gold and silver. The river below whispers, its surface calm at last. The camera drifts close, one final time, her body still, her fur brushed by wind, eyes half-lidded in tranquil repose. Snowflakes rest upon her flank without melting. The crow circles once more, silent now, its wings casting fleeting shadows that fade with the rising light. The air smells clean, stripped of sorrow. Around her, everything glows with that fragile brightness only morning can hold, promise without words. The valley breathes in unison, the sound of life continuing. The image lingers until edges blur, until all detail becomes light, then dissolves completely into white. The story ends where wilderness begins again, not with conclusion, but return. Silence holds the final word, carrying it forward on wind, across ridges, through time. And the forest endures, remembering everything.